welcome to Flavour Text, a podcast where we explore the intersection between lore, story and gameplay in Arkham Horror, the card game. I'm CrabbyTerror8 and I'm joined by my uncompromisingly debonair co-host, Kevling. Hello, Kevling.
Uncompromisingly debonair. That's cheating now. You're using two words. You've gone up, you've stepped it up.
Oh, I didn't think it was enough to say you were debonair, mate. I just...
Uncompromisingly debonair. I am so debonair, I will not compromise on how debonair I am.
You and Roger Moore, uncompromisingly debonair. How have you been?
I'm all right, mate. Good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm not bad. Today was the first day where we actually got the jumpers out because it was windy and rainy and things. So, yes, winter will be upon us.
Yeah, our clock's literally just changed this very morning, so yes. It's an hour earlier than it should be. Yes, I had to get up early just for this.
So they would have put your clocks back an hour, is that right?
They went forward an hour, so we've lost an hour's sleep.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, yours is in a couple of weeks, isn't it, I think?
It is. It's in a couple of weeks. We get an hour back, and I'm just glad that the days when we had little kids, they didn't care what time it was. They just got up at the same time. So,
yes.
There would be these days where they would be up at some, 5 o'clock in the morning or something. I'd be like, boy, but that's not the case.
Or the opposite half of the year, they'd actually have a lie-in.
That's right. That's right. Trying to get them out of bed to go to school and things like that. But no more. They just all sleep in till midday and stay up till midnight these days.
Yes.
It's me going to bed early, getting up early. Yeah. So, what have you been up to games-wise, Kevling? What stuff have you been doing?
Games-wise? I'm trying to think now. When we last recorded, had I been playing my Forgotten Age campaign any further?
You had, I think. Yes.
Yeah,
you had to.
I think the last time we played, we read it. Oh no, we have played again. We've done Threads of Fate now.
Right. Yes. Threads of Fate.
That was it, and I think we finished one of the acts, and we almost finished two of them. But we didn't even touch the new fourth one that got added in for the return to.
Yep.
So, yes, that was a good old romp around Arkham.
Yeah, it's good.
Yes. Yep. But as for anything else, I was just showing you just before we started recording my copy of The Elder Scrolls Betrayal of the Second Era from Chip Theory Games came a couple of weeks ago, which is an absolute monster, and I've hardly touched it. I've had a quick play of the tutorial. I say a quick play. It took me 2 hours to get it out on the table. But yes, maybe that's going to be my retirement game. So in like 10 years' time or so, when I've actually got time to play, I won't be able to pick it up and get it on the table.
Yes.
And what about you? What have you been up to?
Let's see. More of the Bloodborne campaign. So we did another one of those week before last. So we've got another one coming up this Thursday. So that's very enjoyable. It's a really great campaign. So really enjoying that. Again, a little bit on the easier side, but that's all right. It's really good. What else? I'm going to Melbourne in a couple of weeks. They're doing an Arkham get-together type of thing, and they're using... It's going to be the... what's the hotel one called? I forget now. The one set in the hotel.
The
Excelsior Hotel, yes, thank you.
Murder at the Excelsior
Yes,
Hotel.
Murder, yes. But this one, we're using the drafting system. I didn't realise this, but there's an online drafting system you can use. Yes, so I'll have a draft deck.
Interesting.
Yes, to use. So I haven't chosen my investigator yet, but that's certainly something different. So Yeah, the ability to draft. I do that in Magic the Gathering all the time, and I really enjoy that format. So
It takes a lot of the decision away, doesn't it?
yeah,
So it's literally almost like a 50, which of these two cards shall I have? I'll have that one.
yeah, exactly, exactly. I don't know exactly how the mechanics work, like how many you get to choose from and all those sorts of things, but we'll just give it a go, and it'll be a bit of fun. Better than just getting the chaos deck where you just get a random deck. At least there's some kind of choices and those sorts of things, but they're not optimized. So that should be a bit of fun. I'll just fly down for the day and back. So I'm looking forward to that.
I was going to say Melbourne's quite away from you, isn't it?
It's 90-minute.
When you gave it away when you said fly.
Yeah, you can. I have driven between Sydney and Melbourne once, and I stopped overnight. So it was like you can, I think, if you really push it, you could do it in one day, but and into the night. But I wouldn't recommend it. But yeah, you can get there in 90 minutes. So yeah, that's the easier way to do it. So apart from that, I finished the Outer Worlds.
Oh yes,
I platinumed that actually, so I'm very much looking forward to
nice.
the next one. I really enjoyed that, and I'm now playing Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, which is fantastic.
I think I'm gonna. I'll pick that up when it comes out on PlayStation, which they've just announced, haven't they?
Right.
So, are you playing it on PC then? Are you?
Xbox.
Or on Xbox?
Yeah.
Ah.
Xbox. Yeah.
I've rediscovered the joy of the classic point-and-click adventure games. I picked up Thimbleweed Park on Steam in the sale last couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
So I've been working my way through that by Ron Gilbert and co, who did the old Monkey Island and the Lucasfilm games. Lots of digs at Lucasfilm throughout the whole game. It's very funny.
Oh, I love Monkey.
One of the characters wants to be gets a job as a game designer at a company called Mucus Phlegm. So they're just mentioning Mucus Phlegm all the way through the game.
So funny. That's brilliant. A thing I like about, without giving any spoilers, the thing I like about Indiana Jones is the levels are about 5 times the size of a normal level. And you're free to explore them at your leisure.
Oh, it's almost like mini open world maps, is it?
Yes, exactly. So you really have that freedom and time to sort of really explore everything. So
and it's first person, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
I was going to say, my wife has just got Assassin's Creed Shadows, so she's working her way through that. Yeah. But she much prefers third person. She can't get on with first person at all. Otherwise, I think Indiana Jones would be up her street.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I've played machine games, other games, the Wolfenstein ones, which are really great. And I thought it would be like those, very action-packed first person, but it's like Wolfenstein, but without the intense action. You can kind of just take it at your own pace.
Well, that sounds perfect for me then.
Yes,
but us old guys, they don't have the hand-to-eye coordination we once did. Yeah.
And you get to punch out fascists and things still, so you still get to do
that's
that.
Always
so,
good. I didn't realise it was set in America.
Good one.
Sorry about that.
Good one. Well, he does have these digs like he nicks some money. You can nick money, and he goes, "Oh, fascists can't spend money wisely," or he has all these little digs and asides as he goes about what he's doing. So yeah, it's anyway, it is literally like playing the movie. It's a movie that it's really well done. So anyway,
I look forward to that then. Excellent.
Yes. Anyway, speaking of punching out fascists. Or not, we are here to do, I guess, the penultimate episode where we're going to talk about the return to the Circle Undone. Is that right, Kevin? Yes.
Yes, I think, as we'll see as we start going through it, I think the the naming convention of return to name of scenario starts to get a little cumbersome in this one, doesn't it?
Yes, just a little bit. And I think, I don't know if this is the most extensive return to. I mean, it's about 4 pages, I think, it's quite extensive, actually. They really seem to have put quite a bit of work into this one. So I was pleasantly surprised.
With new introductions, new resolutions.
New storylines. And yeah. So...
yeah, it's very good.
It is.
I think most of the previous ones have been more just sort of mixing up the gameplay a bit, haven't they?
Yes.
Or maybe changing some of the mechanics slightly, like fixing the Explorer in the Forgotten Age.
Yeah.
Or adding some variety in Night of the Zealot and things like that.
Exactly, yeah. Or in the case of Dunwich Legacy, fixing problems.
Yes.
And things like that. So this feels like a much more thoughtful reworking, I think. So yeah. I've got tons of cards in front of me. So many. Yeah, and my detailed notes here as well. So yeah, so
Ready to go on.
Where should we start with all this, Kevling? What you thinking?
Shall we just have a quick chat about the big thing that got added in Return to Circle Undone, and that's the tarot deck?
I think that's a good place to start, yeah, absolutely.
Because I remember when all the preview articles came out, everyone was going on about how brilliant the art was, and then when the game came out, all this pre-released art that they'd shown was just the tiny little bits on the act cards, and you could hardly see it. Yes. So this was a perfect opportunity for them to reuse the art and show it off in all its splendour. So you basically get this deck of 22 tarot cards that are all tarot size, so they're all much larger than the traditional Arkham cards, and they're almost like full art, aren't they? They're beautiful.
They are. You can absolutely use this as a working tarot deck if you just focus on the major cards, because it's all of them are here. Like the minor, the what they call the major. These are the major arcana, and then the minor arcana are all the sort of wands and swords and all them are not here. But you can absolutely use this as a working tarot deck. It's got all of the tarot cards there, so it's an incredible addition, really. And like you say, the artwork is wonderful. I mean, it reinterprets all the classic, the Hierophant and Death and the Chariot and whatnot, and so they're all there. So I mean, it is brilliant, a beautiful addition to to the Return to. Just fantastic to have that in there.
It's a shame it's buried away in a Return to box that they don't make anymore.
I know.
They ought to just release it just as a deck.
I know. I was just thinking that they could literally release this, and in fact, they whoever did the artwork here, it's got is it the same illustrator for all of them?
It is. They're all the same. I was just flicking through. Yeah, they're all the same illustrator.
They could actually create the entire tarot with the minor arcana, and like you say, they could sell that, because it's absolutely fantastic. It really is. So well done. It's got this kind of, I don't know, it's sort of I don't know what the style you'd say is, but it's sort of quite angular and but really evocative, really brilliant. So really like it.
Makes me think of stained glass windows looking at it.
Yes, that's right. It does have that feel about it, doesn't it? It certainly does.
And everything, there's a gold theme, isn't there, in every single one?
Yep. Yeah, sort of dripping gold and gold and sort of all kinds of head dresses with gold coming out of them, and so just a beautiful, just like you say, just as a standalone thing, it's a beautiful addition. And the other thing was, I always thought that the tarot, I mean, there's a tarot slot, of course, but this is the only campaign that uses the tarot slot, so it always felt like it was a bit undercooked. So having this additional piece here, I think, just adds a little bit extra, which is lovely. It's really fantastic.
I think they've done some new tarot cards in the latest set, I think.
Have they?
In Drowned City.
Ah,
I think they might have.
right. I've just sleeved all mine up. Would they'd be neutral cards? No.
I honestly can't remember.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. That I'm glad that they do that.
It's either in that one or I haven't got the Hemlock in mind. Anyway, yeah, I'm sure they have done some recently.
Right.
We like revisited tarot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but obviously these aren't those type of tarot cards. This is something else.
Yeah.
So there's basically each of the 22 tarot cards has got its like upright and reversed version that has basically a positive or a negative impact on the game. And they've suggested 4 ways that you can use them.
Yeah.
So they said a 1-card reading or chaos. So before performing any other setup, shuffle the tarot deck and reveal the top card in a random orientation, and then its effects are active throughout the scenario.
Yep.
Then there's a 2-card version which they call balance. So that should reveal 2, one upright and the other one reverse, so you're getting both a positive and a negative effect. A 3-card reading called choice. So you reveal the top 3 and reverse 2 of them, and all 3 are active. And then the interesting one is what they call a campaign reading, where you reveal 1 card for each scenario in the campaign. So it's almost like you're mapping out how the effects are going to apply to each scenario.
Yes.
You reverse half of them rounded up. So, yeah. And as we'll see, they also factor this into a couple of the scenarios as well.
Yeah. So it's really nice how they've, and then they say, well, if you've got some other idea about how you want to use them, go ahead and come up with your own as well. They're sort of, they're letting you just sort of use it however you'd like, which is just brilliant how they've sort of, added that in.
And obviously it can apply to any campaign. It's not Circle and Done specific.
Nope. That's right.
I think on our recent playthrough Hemlock Vale, one of our team was using the tarot deck
right
every scenario.
Oh, okay. Wow.
So I've never actually been in a game where they've been used, even though I've got them, and I've just been, going on and on about how amazing they are. I've never used them.
Yeah. And they're like little buffs and debuffs, aren't they? Basically,
they are really. Yes. Yeah.
Like, I'm just looking at
some of them are like you have a bit of extra XP, or your first test of a particular type is easier or harder.
Yeah. It's like, and I think they're thematic here. Like death is like each investigator gets +1 health upright, each investigator gets -1 health if it's reversed. That kind of thing.
Some extra or fewer mulligans, affecting the first doom, changing your number of slots, and yes, it's. Lots of little tweaks.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, just providing that is something they hadn't done before. So it's in and of itself, it's a lovely addition. I mean, to be honest, a lot of the time I was getting the return twos just for the box, really, the dividers.
Yes.
So, and it's a real shame they've stopped doing them. There's probably good commercial reasons why they're not doing them, but or they might reprint them in the future, who knows, but they're great, really fantastic. So a really nice addition, I think.
Definitely.
Yes. So shall we just take each scenario one at a time and just sort of talk about it, I guess, and see where we get to? So the disappearance at the Twilight Estate, which isn't, is really not really a scenario per se. Well, it's a playable prologue, isn't it, really? I think to your point, one of the things you can do here is that you can use the tarot. I mean, you don't have to use the tarot. You could just use a random number generator, I suppose, but you can use the tarot to, instead of playing the scenario, you can use the tarot to kind of give the outcomes rather than having to play it. Is that right?
Yeah, so you draw a tarot card, don't you, for each of the players.
Correct.
That would have been in the prologue.
Yeah, exactly. So if you had is Gabriella, isn't it, for example, and you drew, I don't know, the priestess number 2. Gabriella disappeared into the mist with no evidence left behind. So it's that kind of thing, right? I think the higher the number, the better. I think. Pretty much, kind of, sort of. But yes, there's just different outcomes depending on what you draw. Yeah. So, yeah, it's I think this is fine if you really know the campaign really well, and you don't want to play through it every single time. I mean, I hadn't played it for a long time, so I wanted to play it again just to get into the story myself. But I can understand that if you know the prologue really well and you know this campaign pretty well, you don't, it just saves that time, right?
Yeah. But then if you do want to play it, there is the Return to version of it.
Yes.
Which, basically, it just adds one extra location and swaps out the encounter sets, doesn't it, for the Return to versions of them.
Yes, that's right.
So it adds the wine cellar in from Return to Death's Door. This is where the naming convention starts getting clumsy. From the Return to at Death's Doorstep.
Yeah, so you get to add a wine cellar. And the other thing is, and this is in all of them, right? They've changed the Watcher's...
Oh, yes, the Watcher's Grasp.
So basically the Watcher's Grasp means that the Watcher attacks, I think, engages and attacks.
Yeah, he heals himself, he readies, he moves, engages and attacks as if it was the enemy phase with you as his prey. So they've just made that even worse now, so that after it does its attack, it doesn't exhaust.
Yes, yeah. So that's slightly worse, I suppose.
Yeah.
that way. So, and the wine cellar's a nice addition, to the... You would expect that Joseph Miger would have a wine cellar, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Although the flavour text for the unrevealed side is the stench of blood and decaying wood emanates from behind the door at the bottom of the... Maybe it says that for all of them, I'm not sure. Dark, dank staircase. So, yeah. Yes, so
yeah, that's pretty much it for Return to the Disappearance at the Twilight Estate. It's
exactly.
Yeah, we just get a little bit of an extra location.
Yeah,
and a more difficult treachery.
Yeah, and even if
or you can avoid it entirely with the tarot cards.
Yes, exactly. And even if you don't have the tarot cards, you can literally just you could probably just roll a 20-sided dice, actually. That would pretty much... or just have a random number generator, pretty much, and do it that way if you want. So, but it's a bit more leaning into the theme of fate and fortune a little bit more as well. That's the other thing it's doing, because this campaign was supposed to be about that. So it's just adding that extra bit of flavour, I suppose. In that way, but so it's pretty much the same. The other thing, I suppose, is that you would notice if you played it that they've replaced some of the cards with new cards. There's new Return to versions and things, so there's some of that going on as well.
Yeah, it's particularly nice for when they replace the encounter sets that are from the core game, because you see them in every single campaign you play, so it's nice to have them replaced with something new and different.
Exactly, yeah.
Like, for example, this one's got Chilling Cold, I think it is, as one of them, but that gets replaced with another.
Yeah, and I think they're slightly more forgiving. So you've got Crypt Chill, for example. The Chilling Cold's a good one when you've got Crypt Chill, but instead they've got Supernatural Tempest, which is, instead of testing willpower, you test foot of 5. If you fail, choose and discard cards from your player and or from your hand with total printed resource of cost of at least X, where the X is the amount you failed by. So rather than just... I mean, I suppose that could be worse, that could be better. I don't know. Hard to tell. And then the other one is a replacement for Obscuring Fog. Attached location gets +1 Shroud, which is, I think, the same as... Oh, no. obscuring fog was +2 shroud. And at the end of the round, if there are no clues on the attached location, moves miss from beyond once towards the nearest location with one or more clues. So actually, these are sort of worse, I think, they're more difficult than the originals, actually. I don't think they're easier at all. Because it's sort of like a perpetual obscuring fog, which is nice for the story because they talk about the fog kind of wafting around, don't they? So there we go. So there's a bit of that going on. Yeah. So I guess from there we get into the scenarios proper, and we have the return to the witching hour, don't we?
Yes, so that has a new bullet point added to the introduction. So if we do introduction 2 and we accept our fate, instead of resolving the second bullet point of the intro, which is where you'd get the Tower, 16 and Ace of Rods, the leading investigator may choose to resolve the following. Using the tarot card deck, perform an 8-card campaign reading with these specific 8 cards in this order: Temperance, Justice, Hermit, Hanged Man, Hierophant, Lovers, Chariot, Wheel of Fortune. And then it adds a new resolution as a possible outcome as well.
Yeah, so that's doing that 8-card campaign reading, right? Which, when I was reading,
but it's like a predetermined.
Yes,
which is quite interesting for the subject of fate and fortune.
But that's exactly what I thought when I read that introduction again. I thought, oh, this is where this would be a nice place to do the campaign sort of card reading. This would be a perfect place to do it. And lo and behold, there it is in the witching hour that they're saying to do that. So it's like it gives that moment where your fate is being read. Just a bit more, makes it a bit more tangible. You've just got to remember what all the tarot cards are for all the scenarios. That's all. You just got to remember. That's all. So, yes. And then, so you've got, in this one, we've got some new locations, right? So we've got 5 witch-haunted woods locations, I think.
Yeah, and we take the original Arkham Woods Quiet Glade out of the game, which I think is probably the one location that nothing bad happened at.
Yes, that's correct. Yes, exactly. The other thing I noticed is you can use the Return to Night of the Zealot locations instead.
Yes. Which is interesting because they never... I think this is probably the only time I've seen them say you can use a different expansion.
Yeah.
They never insist on you having another expansion.
Yeah.
It's always what you've just bought and the core set, nothing else.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So, and then the other thing is that there's Act 4 has 2 versions of it. So those are the 3 differences. I'm wondering, should we go through the new locations?
Yeah. Shall I pick? The first one I've got here is one of the Witch Haunted Woods. Obviously, they've all got the same back, but this one is the Witch Tree. As a subheading, as a player window action, you can take a direct damage and a direct horror, but choose an investigator at a different Witch Haunted Woods, and they heal 1 damage and 1 horror. Group limit once per round. So it's like you can hurt yourself to help someone else.
Yeah.
Not quite sure how thematically that works if you're both in different places that aren't connected to each other, but there must be some sort of connection through the Witch Haunted Woods.
Yeah, it's a rather gruesome picture as well.
Yeah.
So, yes. The other one we have with the Witch Haunted Woods is the Unmarked Graveyard, which is this kind of got a skeletal hand kind of breaking out of the earth. It's a 1 shroud, 2 clues per investigator. victory point for this one as well. When you discover the last clue from this location, draw the topmost hex treachery in the encountered discard pile. If you cannot, instead discard cards from the top of the encounter deck until a hex treachery is discarded and draw it. They're never welcome, those hex treacheries. They're a bit of a pain. Then I think there's 3 Arkham Woods locations as well, which obviously they come into play after the Witch Haunted Woods, and each individual person gets their own Arkham Woods location, don't they?
Of course, yes. Yes, so first one I've got of those is Hidden Path. During the enemy attacks step of the enemy phase, instead of their standard attack, each ready witch enemy at this location attacks each investigator in play. Attacks made in this way do not cause the enemy to exhaust. So it attacks everybody from this location.
Wow. Guess it's a hidden path. They can get to everybody. Something like
yes,
that.
Yes.
Then we've got here Arkham Woods, Place of Power. Looks like a big rock, basically. 3 Shroud, 1 clue per investigator. While you're at this location, you cannot cancel or ignore card or game effects, and each encounter card you draw gains peril. Okay.
And then the last one, Bootlegging Operation. We've not been saying have we 1 Shroud, 1 clue per investigator, and forced after you successfully investigate, discard a card from the top of the encounter deck for each point you succeeded by, and then also forced when the encounter deck runs out of cards, each investigator at this location takes 2 damage.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, it's just adding a bit of extra variability, I suppose, to the overall thing. Like, yeah, it's typical of Return 2 when they just give you a few extra locations and things like that, right? Just to kind of switch it up a little bit. But this is the big one here, the Witching Hour, because this was the bit of kind of a surprise, I suppose. But Act 4 is different in the sense that
it's an extra Act 4, so you get to choose which route you take through the scenario.
Yeah. So
because the normal version of the normal Act 4 is you have the choice of either defeating a net or getting all the clues on the Witch's Circle, but this gives you another option, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you want to read that one?
Yeah, so it says a circle unbroken, same thing, but this one says, for what purpose have these people gathered? Are they the cause of the disturbances in these woods? And if so, what is their true goal? So immediately it's giving you a third. You don't have to fight them. You don't have to kind of slink around and work out what's going on. You're sort of asking what's going on, and objective, perhaps we can learn more from them. So rather than it being a hostile encounter, you can choose for it to be more of a, ask them. So if there are more than 1 hat exhausted witch enemies at the Witch's Circle, investigators at the Witch's Circle may spend the requisite number of clues as a group to advance, which is 2 hats. So it's sort of evasion. It's helping people with good feat skills, I suppose. It's giving another. So and this would be great for true solo, because it's possible that your solo player has got really good feat skills rather than other skills, and this gives them another option. So it's great. It gives it another option, and quite a profound change here, isn't it, in this version of Act 4B, Kevling?
It kind of answers it starts to answer some of our concerns with the original scenarios, in that we think we said all along throughout every episode of this podcast that it doesn't give you any reason to side with the witches. No. Whereas now it's introducing a reason to actually learn from the witches what's going on. Why are they doing what they're doing?
Exactly.
So it's sort of adding that missing narrative thread.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a third way, if you like. Did you want to read the back of this one? Yeah,
sure. So it's a circle forged. The hooded figures stand down once they realise you're not fighting them or working to disrupt their ritual. They are not the ones from before, the interlopers who interfered with our ritual, one of them says, pulling off her hood to reveal striking red hair that glows in the firelight. Embers dance around her fingers. Are you of the same mind as us, then? She asks. No, Erin, the leader of the coven, answers for you. They are lost. She studies you with harsh eyes. How came you here? You explain how you awoke in the woods, how you were attacked by terrible creatures, and how you came to the centre of this circle to discover the truth behind your ordeal. Annette, I think someone delivered them here, the red-haired witch named Erin whispers, mystified. We should finish here while the circle remains closed. There may be others in these woods. Come, sisters, let us continue our work, Annette says. Yet Resolution 5, which is the new edition.
Yes. Yeah.
So do you want to take Resolution 5?
Yeah, so then you get Resolution 5. So you watch as Annette, the leader of the coven, assembles her priestesses once more around the fire. Together they complete the last rites of their spell. The chill wind becomes a flurry, and their chanting echoes throughout the woods. With their spell complete, a dark gale snuffs out the fire at the centre of the clearing. Shadows from behind the tree line suddenly twist and coil around the witches, tugging at the edges of their cloaks. One by one, the shadows twist and pull each of them into the darkness beyond, all except for one. The witch named Erin lingers for a moment, peering into your eyes as though to discern your intent. If you are true, meet me where our ancestors lie buried. There we can talk. Then she is gone. You are left with only a soft glow of moonlight to guide you home. So in your campaign log record, the witch's spell was cast. In your campaign log record, Erin wants to meet. And you get some mementos discovered, a mesmerizing flute, and something which will be of import later, strange incantation. So
and 3 bonus XP.
3 bonus XP. So the other thing it seems to be doing is saying it was a little bit stingy with the XP, perhaps, in the in the original, which I think is probably about right. So it's setting up a, like you say, it's setting up a better relationship with the witches than in the original, where this didn't really happen. The witches seemed very standoffish and aggressive, and there wasn't any sort of sympathetic aspect to them at all. So it's really awesome that they've added this in as a different way to interact with the witches. I think it's great. Yeah.
Okay, so that's the end of that one then, isn't it? So then we move on to Return to At Death's Doorstep. There's no change to the introduction or the setup.
No.
I mean, in terms of the campaign guide.
No.
Other than what's on the card, swapping out some of the encounter sets again. And then we add in Senator Nathaniel Rhodes' enemy in the entry hall with 1 clue per investigator on him. And we get the new wine cellar location which we referred to earlier. That goes into play.
Yep.
And the spectral version of it sits aside, out of play. And one of the swapped out encounter sets that gets set aside is based, just remind us that we set aside the new version, not the old version. And whenever it refers to the old version, it means the new one. Yep. So that's Unstable Realm in place of Realm of Death.
Yep.
And then we have the same thing about the Watcher's Grasp treachery ongoing.
Yes, and there's a new enemy called Dmitry Konstantinov, who's apparently taking the long view, Kevling, whatever that means. And so he's just another enemy. So it's what it's doing is it's increasing the number of humanoid cultists hanging around. And Senator Nathaniel Rhodes is the one referred to at the beginning in Disappearance of the Twilight State, at the very beginning, saying we've just got a new senator into the government. And this is him, I think.
Right.
So
excellent.
And you can parley with him. He's pretty low willpower, actually. He's aloof, and he's only a 1-2, so he's an adept politician. He's only a 1-2-1, so he's not really much of a fight, but he's aloof. You can parley with him, speak with him. If you succeed, take control of one of his clues. So what this does is it kind of accelerates your start here in in this one, because you can get clues off him relatively quickly.
Yes.
He's pretty easy to get the clues off, and it's got some flavor text here. Change is what the people demand, and change is what I aim to give them. Yes. Does he start with two? One hat clues on him. So
one per investigator.
Oh, that's pretty generous. So that sort of sets you off to, as long as, willpower of 2 is pretty easy to do.
Yes.
Usually. So yeah. So that's a nice addition, and I like the way they've woven him in, because he's like, mentioned at the beginning of the campaign. So.
And it was if I remember, wasn't it the spectral version of the wine cellar that went into the first scenario?
Correct. That's right.
Which we've already looked at. So
Correct.
The normal version of the wine cellar,
yeah,
which is connected to Victorian halls. As an action, you disturb the tranquility of this quiet place in search of evidence. Discard cards from the top of the encounter deck until a monster enemy is discarded. Set that enemy aside out of play, and then gain 2 clues from the token pool. Group limit once per game.
So there you go.
That's another set of bonus clues then.
Yes. Yeah. So rewarding exploration, I imagine, that kind of thing. Dimitri's a bit of a character. He reminds me a bit of, it's a bit later, but you meet somebody who's just sitting around having a drink and sort of, I can't remember who he was. Remember, there was someone else in one of the other ones.
Yes.
I don't know which one it was, but he's
probably had one of the keys on him.
Yeah, that's right.
You had to sort of talk him out of it or something.
Now, Dimitri's a little bit stronger than Nathaniel. He's a 4/3/2. He will spawn the location with no other Silver Twilight enemies furthest from you. So he's basically just sitting in a chair having a drink. False, when Dmitri Konstantinov enters play, place 2 doom on him. But there's a reaction trigger after you evade Dmitri Konstantinov. For every 2 points you succeed by, remove 1 doom from him. And it says, do you understand who you're meddling with? So he's just... So again, you could fight him, but you can sort of use other... But I guess if he's spawning as far away from us as possible with 2 doom on him, you're going to want to get over there.
Yeah. Yes.
And deal with him somehow. So... Yeah, so it's just adding a bit of extra flavour, really, isn't it, Kevling? It's sort of not really earth-shatteringly changed. In fact, the Twilight Lodge ones tend to be more straightforward from that perspective.
Yeah, because I think, as we said in the individual episodes, the Twilight Lodge side of the story seemed to be far more fleshed out than the Witch side of the story.
Exactly.
So, there's not as much, I think, for them to do narratively on the Twilight Lodge episodes.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
So just switching it up a little bit, and then we get to return to the secret name. This is the one in the with Brown Jenkin, isn't it? The joyful one. They haven't really done much with this one, have they? Apart from
no, basically just mixed the unknown places up a bit, haven't they?
Yes, correct. Exactly. That's all.
Yeah, so there's 4 new unknown places.
Yeah.
Which you add into the 7.
Yes.
And then you basically shuffle them around and take 4 out. So you have the same number of unknown places, but some of them might be the newer versions.
Yeah, exactly. What have we got here? We've got Library of Elba. I think it's the same on... Yeah, they're all the same on that side. So it's 4 shroud, 2 clues per investigator, and it's a victory point. Test 5 willpower to search the library for arcane lore. If you succeed, deal 3 damage to Nahab, even if she's out of play. Group limit 1 success per game. There you go.
So what was that one you did? Library of Elba,
yes.
Was it? Okay. The next one I have is Temple of Rillier. I never know how to say that. Really? I say, really? Temple of Really? Okay. So after you reveal the Temple of Really, test willpower of 3. If you fail, draw the top card of the encounter deck, and if you fail by 3 or more, it gets Surge.
Ooh.
But it is worth a victory point.
Yes. Then we've got the 9th.
3 shroud, 2 clues per investigator.
Yep.
no flavour text.
They've got the Ninth Ward. Do they mean the Ninth Ward in Paris? I'm assuming that's where they mean. There's sort of like a little Parisian little kind of entryway, kind of archway with a sort of elder sort of beastie on it. But 5 shroud, 1 clue per investigator. Action investigate using foot instead of intellect. There's a lot of foot things, aren't there? They must have felt like there wasn't enough for people to use feet, because they seem to be using feet a lot. If you succeed after discovering clues, you may move to any extra-dimensional location. Okay. Haunted, you cannot leave the Ninth Ward this round. During your turn, reduce the shroud value of the Ninth Ward by 1. So there you go.
And then we've not done the price manner, have we?
No.
So test fight of 5 to topple the strange eldritch statue. If you succeed, remove a doom from Nahab, even if she is out of play. Group limit 1 success per game. And the haunted effect is to put a doom on her, even if she's out of play.
Yeah.
It's 2 shroud, 1 clue per investigate.
Yeah. So that's it, really.
Is that all of them? Yeah.
Yeah. I was sort of hoping they'd do more with this one. I don't know why. I sort of thought they might, because I think we found it quite frustrating. Maybe that's why I thought they'd do more with it, Kevin. I think Brian Jenkins drives people a bit mad.
Yes.
He's a bit of a pain, but that's by design probably. So yes. So that's Return to the Secret Name. Not much there.
Okay, so
just a bit of flavour, really. Yeah.
Yeah, a bit of variation. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then we return to the Wages of Sin. It has a new resolutions, but no change to the intro. So we do the setup as normal. We also gather Erin, how do you pronounce that name? McCoyd, out of play.
Yep.
I butchered that pronunciation, so please don't write in. So we check the campaign log, and if Erin wants to meet, when we build the act deck, we use the new Act 1A in Pursuit of Answers instead of the original one.
Yes.
And we include both versions of Act 2. Yep. And then when we advance to Act 2A, we put both of the acts into play. The text on both is active.
Yeah.
Then it looks like it adds an extra Hangman's Book, because it lets you mix them up and put one of them in the game.
Yep.
And then it adds some extra heretic enemies as well. So when we randomly choose 4, we add the 2 new ones in with the original 6. So there's a total of 8 possibilities.
Yeah.
And then we get the Watcher's Grasp tweak again.
Yeah. There's also a new encounter, 2 encounter set, Witchweed, it's called, which is a peril. You shuffle it from the encounter deck into the spectral deck, and from the spectral deck it triggers the haunted ability on your location twice.
Nice.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so the new act, In Pursuit of Answers. So this is if Erin wants to meet us.
Yep.
So it says, you've come to Hangman's Hill to investigate reports over the last few nights of ghost sightings and strange activities in the woods. The witch named Erin told you to meet her here, but for what purpose? So again, I think this was one of our problems with this scenario, wasn't it? Where we'd just gone and turned up at the graveyard because we read a newspaper story about ghosts, didn't we?
Yes.
And it didn't quite seem to follow, but
no.
This gives you a reason to be here. This is where Erin wanted to meet you.
Exactly.
So, yeah, that's sort of like a fix there if you got that resolution on the previous couple of scenarios ago.
Yes, yeah. So you're right. It gives you much more reason to be here, to meet with her.
Yeah, and then the reverse of that act, the barriers crossed.
Yeah,
it's basically almost all the same. Partway through the sort of description there. It says that you recognise Erin, You again, she rises. Have you come here for the answers as I have? So the spawning of a heretic enemy at various locations is exactly the same as the other version, but then the new bit is that you put the set-aside Erin story asset into play at Haunted Fields under no player's control. Whereas on the original Act 1A, that bit was where you were understanding the song lyrics if you had a certain number of mementos, which I think, again, we thought was a bit odd.
Yes.
This makes much more sense. We're here to meet her, and there she is.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And, and then the Act 2As, this gives you two versions. So again, it's a bit like the other one, the Witching Hour, where you got both of them out at the same time. So it's giving you another option and another way of dealing with the heretics, essentially. So they're different in that the new Act 2A says in pursuit of the beyond instead of the in pursuit of the living, which was the original one. I mean, they're both out together, so they're not replaced. But the spirits of my kin are restless, Erin explains, but the knowledge they possess is too great to ignore. Please help me learn from them. So you can see it's a different emphasis now. We're not, it's less aggressive in that sense. So there's a reaction trigger. When you would banish a ghost, you may instead place it beneath Erin Makaido. I'm not sure how, like you say, how you heretic side face up, and then there's an action. If you are at Erin's location, spend one hack clues parley, choose a heretic beneath, place it beneath this act. Objective: help Erin find answers by placing heretics beneath this act. If there are 3 beneath this act, advance. So this is different to the banishing the heretics into the victory display. So you're not getting them victories. This is, I think, some people don't like this because you're not getting the victories, but it's an easier way of getting rid of the heretics, if you like.
Yes.
And I think you could do both, right? It's not an either or. You could do both, I suppose, to some degree, if you wanted. But you want at least...
How many did it say? There's only going to be 4 heretics, aren't there?
Oh,
and you need 3 of them to do this.
Right, so you could...
So I guess you could put one of them in the victory display.
Yes, exactly.
And do the other 3 doing the parley with Erin.
Yeah, exactly. So, and that leads to a different kind of resolution outcome, doesn't it?
Questionable motives is the back of the Act 2A. I do not know what to make of this, Erin says, as you ruminate on the discoveries you've made. The spirits were indeed roused by the presence of the creature in the mist, but it almost seemed to be guiding them, commanding them. You ask Erin what kind of creature could do such a thing. She was one of us once, the greatest of us, and perhaps the most dangerous, she sighs. It all makes sense now. There's only one witch you know of who would inspire such reverence and such fear, Keziah Mason. Now Annette grasps at the forbidden knowledge she once held. This ritual... I'm no longer sure we should go through with it. I fear I've been a fool this whole time. Her dark gaze meets yours unwavering. Let me come with you. Perhaps together we can put a stop to this. That's resolution 3.
So she's sort of a witch, but she's not with the witches in the same sense.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's like a third path, isn't it?
It is. And so... Resolution 3 is, as you depart Hangman's Hill, the unnatural mist lingers behind, a reminder of what you that you chose information and power over safety of the city. The last thing you see as you cross the brook is the blood streaking down the bark of the trees flanking the bridge. The sight is repulsive, and yet perhaps there is information to be gathered here as well. Hoping you've done the right thing, you study the strange carvings for a moment before continuing to your next destination. In your campaign log record, 1 heretic was unleashed, so just 1, which I think you can have multiples, right, release the other way. And in your campaign log under mementos discovered, record bloody tree carvings. This is important because if you've done the other one in the Witching Hour, you will have strange incantation and bloody tree carvings, and that will have an effect later down the track. Also, you can say record that Erin joined the investigators. Anyone can choose Erin as a story asset. It doesn't count towards their deck size. So, yeah, she can join somebody as an ally. Pretty good one, too, I think.
Cool.
Yeah, because she's got 3 secrets on her. You get +1 willpower. She's 2/2, so she can tank a bit of damage. And she's got a reaction trigger. When you draw a non-weakness or power treachery, spend a secret to exhaust Erin. Cancel that card's revelation effect. So basically, you can be cancelling things from the encounter deck, which is not bad.
Not at all. So that was Return to the Secret Name, was it? I've forgotten already.
Wages of Sin. Yeah.
Do we want to look at the new heretics that
Yes.
were added in?
Yeah. Yeah, there's 2 of them, isn't there?
Oh, and there was the new location as well, wasn't it? Hangman's Brook.
Yes, correct. Yep.
So Hangman's Brook, that's 3 shroud, no clues, or blank clues, should I say, not no clues. It's different. It's got an action, resign. Whose bright idea was this anyway? And the haunted effect is place a clue from the supply on Hangman's Brook.
Yeah. Slightly different. And then one of the heretics, I think the fronts are all the same, right? It's just the backs that have got new things on them.
Oh yes, it's the story on the back,
Yes.
don't they?
So this one says, "Air, please, I need air. The drowned spirit lunges for you, croaking with garbled sounds of torment. Sodden weeds are tangled through its hair." And then if you banish the ghost, then... first of all, if you're at Hangman's Brook and there are no clues on it, test skill of your choice 5. If you succeed, the ghost is banished. Do not read when it is banished. At the bottom of the riverbank, you find the spirit's remains. You dig a shallow grave beside the brook, and there you lay its body to rest, dry and safe at long last.
Okay, the next one I have says it's coming for us both. The wraith is in a panic, casting its gaze into the dark woods in search of some enigmatic predator. What could something that is dead possibly fear? So it's got a forced effect at the start of the enemy phase. If the spectral watcher is in play, ready it. And as an action, you can do an evade, use only on the spectral watcher. Use your lowest skill value for this attempt. If you succeed, the ghost is banished, in addition to evading the spectral watcher. So you basically, it's terrified of the spectral watcher, isn't it? So by evading the watcher and delaying it, you're able to banish the ghost. It says you force the spectral horror back, buying enough time to calm the spirit down. As it dissolves into the night, its gaze never wanders from the watcher's form.
There we go. Very evocative.
Yeah.
So that's the wages of sin, isn't it? So,
Yeah.
Nice. Like that one. I think that I like again that it's giving you another way of sort of managing it. And you can, it's good. It's good. I like the ones with Erin in them. Good. Then we've got return to for the greater good. I think that is the next one, isn't it? Number 5.
Yes. Yes, and the titles are getting clumsier and clumsier.
This one is interesting. So, first of all, you don't use the good old ancient evils in this one, which is nice. So
Yes.
that, the classic ancient evils are no longer there. So instead, the alternatives are called impending evils. So, ancient evils just adds a doom. Just, you've got no control over it. Impending evils, which is the sort of the version that you use for the return to says, Revelation, you must either take 1 damage and 1 horror, or put impending evils into play next to the agenda deck and gain surge. If there are 3 copies of impending evils next to the agenda deck, discard them and advance the current agenda. So a little bit different. You're not just piling doom up necessarily. So it's a slightly different emphasis there. Yeah. This one, there's 2 lounge locations, so you can choose one of 2 lounge locations and put them into play along with the rest of the starting locations. So you've now got an extra lounge location, basically. I think the new one has some different flavour text and things on it, I think. Force, after lounge is revealed, put the set-aside vault and library locations into play, which is the same. Action, investigators at the lounge can spend 1 hack clues as a group to put the set-aside hidden passageway location into play.
That's the new bit, isn't it?
That's the new one, correct.
So there's a version of the lounge that has this hidden passage to another room.
Yes, the new one. And then the flavour text is, the lounge is warm, cosy, and surprisingly empty. There's got to be something else here, right? Hint. Yeah.
Yes. The other thing about the setup as well, it says that the objective on Act 3 is now optional.
Yep.
So that was where, if you've got all 4 keys and you're at the same location as the puzzle box, advance. So you would advance, and then you had that. Remember, there was quite a nice little touch of how each of the keys interacted with the puzzle box and how you opened it, which I thought was really nice. But so basically now you don't have to open the puzzle box.
Right.
So the objective on Act 3A is optional, and then it adds, after all of the other keys have been put into play, if another effect would cause a set-aside key to be put into play, use another unused numbered chaos token instead of putting no key into play. So then at the end of the scenario, each of those numbered chaos tokens controlled by an investigator go into the victory display and are worth another victory point. Because I think we found that, didn't we? That the 4 keys came out, and then cards still kept referring to people having keys.
Yes.
And it kind of was pointless. So at least this gives you a way of maybe farming for some extra XP before you go and do the puzzle box.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So it gives you an opportunity to get some extra victory points, which is welcome in this campaign. So the way that you I wasn't sure. So does that mean if the objective in Act 3 is optional, you can literally just jump to 3B without having to open the puzzle box? Is that right?
I'm wondering, so I think I might have misread it. I think what it actually means is you don't have to do it as soon as you've got the 4 keys. You can then carry on going around and get some more keys.
I see. Yes,
and then advance later, I think.
Of course. I was reading it like, you don't have to do this at all. I'm thinking, that's a bit strange.
That's how I read it at first, to be honest. But
no, you're right.
Because there isn't any other option, is there?
Yes. Yeah. So
you have got to do it to advance, but you don't have to do it as soon as you can.
Yes. So you can keep...
Because I think when we played it, it was almost a fluke that we got all 4 keys at the same time as being in the room with the puzzle box. We've done it.
Yes.
Yeah, let's move on then.
Yes, exactly.
Whereas we probably would have had lots of time to go and hunt for more keys.
Yes, exactly. So it's rewarding poking around and having a look around a bit more. For example, the hidden passageway, for example.
Of course. What a nice segue.
Yes.
There you go. Do you want to take that?
Sure. So the hidden passageway has force when you enter the hidden... This is on the unrevealed side. Force when you enter the hidden passageway, test 3 foot. Here we go again, 3 foot. If you fail, place 1 doom on the nearest cultist enemy as they hear you shifting the bookcase. And on the other side, relic storage. So 5 shroud, though. 1 clue per investigator. Whilst investigator controls the skull key, relic storage is connected to lodge catacombs and vice versa, so it must be a bit of a shortcut, I think. Forced, after relic storage is revealed, place 1 random set-aside key on it, so it's an extra place for a key. So very nice. Yeah.
Very nice. And then there is an extra sanctum doorway, which, when revealed, is Shrouded Archive. So choose, as an action, choose one of the symbol keys on a card and test Willpower or Book of 8 and reduce the difficulty of the test by 1 for each Silver Twilight enemy in play. If you succeed, swap the chosen key with another key in play or with a set-aside key.
Okay.
Okay.
That could be handy if you're looking for a particular key. So,
yeah.
Okay. So again, it's not changing things massively, right? It's just adding a bit of extra reasons to run around and look at everything, and basically.
Yeah.
So the next one is the Return at Union and Disillusion, isn't it? Is the next one. This is on the Unvisited Isle. So if Erin joined the investigators, so this does impact this one, and the investigators sided with the Coven during this. So if Erin joined the investigators and the investigators sided with the Coven, so you've got to have those two things happening. Yeah. So this is like you say before, this is a path where we're on the side of the witches, and there's more reason to be on the witches' side.
Yes.
I suppose. Read the following additional intro before setting up the scenario, and the extra intro is: Erin considers your words carefully as you tell her about that you intend to side with her coven and help them stop the lodge's ritual despite what you've learned about her high priestess. I don't know, she admits. Is this truly what you want? She sighs, looking more exhausted and troubled than ever before. All right, if this is what you intend to do, so be it, but I hope you understand what you are doing. Then you replace Resolution 4 from the original campaign guide with the following new version of Resolution 4. The additional resolutions below are added to the list of possible resolutions. So, there we go. So you have to, when choosing which versions of Acts 3 and 4 to use during setup, add the following bullet point above all the others. If investigators sided with the lodge and Erin joined the investigators. Hold on. So resolution 4 is if you side with the coven. But if investigators sided with the lodge and Erin joined the investigators, use the new Act 3 Beyond the Mist version 5 and Act 4 the Binding Rite. So there's a new version of Act 3A.
Yeah, so it says there that that's the check that you do first, isn't it? In the list of bullet points.
Yep.
Yeah. So the other options were whether you sided with the lodge, whether you sided with the coven and you're deceiving the lodge, or you're inducted into the inner circle, or if the above is not true and you sided with the coven, and if the above is not true and if you sided with the coven. So it's, I think we said at the time, it felt like you were only siding with the coven by default, not through any choice. And it's rectifying that, isn't it? We've made the conscious decision to help help Erin.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you've more reason to now, like you feel more invested in the witches because of Erin. So yeah. Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
And then, like you say, we get a new Act 3 and Act 4. So the Act 3A, Beyond the Mist version 5, you are close to the site of the binding ritual. You must light all the braziers to find the way. Then all that's left to do is bait the watcher to the trap and bind it there, which I think is the same on the wall, isn't it? And then as a player window action, during a circle action, you can spend one clue to reduce the difficulty by 2. And if each unvisited isle location is revealed and the braziers on the wall is lit, advance. So I think actually that front is the same, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's the back.
But the back, Erin's plot, After nearly an hour spent searching through the dense mist, you finally arrive at the lodge's ritual site to find it in chaos. Members of the Silver Twilight Lodge in robes of blue and silver are embroiled in a battle with the witches. Annette turns her attention to you, shocked and angered at your arrival. "You, what are you doing here?" she calls to her coven. "Sisters, we must not let them interfere." "No, Annette," Erin replies, standing by your side. "You've gone too far this time. It is you we must stop." Unsure who to follow, the rest of the witches stand down as the two face off. "You must complete the ritual," Carl Sanford commands you from across the clearing. "It is the only way." So we reveal the Geist Trap location, and we move each investigator at an unvisited isle to the Geist Trap, and we spawn Annette Mason at the Geist Trap with 2 per investigator damage on her.
Mm-hmm.
So the outcome there is very similar to the version 1.
Yes.
But Annette gets some damage and we don't get acolytes spawning. So I think it's like the slightly easier option now.
Yep. The other addition is the Brazier enchantment it's put in, which is it's in the encounter deck. It's a curse and a hex. Revelation put Brazier enchantment into play next to the agenda deck. Increase the difficulty of each skill test during the circle actions on locations by 2. And then action circle. Test your lowest skill plus your next lowest skill, 6. If you succeed, discard Brazier enchantment. If you fail, resolve each haunted ability on your location. Ooh. Okay.
Nice.
So that's quite nasty. Yes. So, and then we have a new Resolution 4 now, don't we? This replaces the old Resolution 4.
Yeah, do you want to read that?
Yeah, so Annette approaches... So Resolution 4 is where Annette gets... She gets defeated, isn't... No, where she succeeds, I think. Annette approaches, confronting the remnant's ethereal shell. "Sister, we are the ones who have called you here from the great beyond." The shattered revenant turns its attention to Annette, and the rest of the coven watch in anticipation. "What are you doing, you fool? The spirit is no mere witch," Carl Sanford yells, but it's too late. Annette ignores Sanford, continuing to speak to the spectral presence. "For years we have suffered injustice after injustice. Share with me your secrets, sister. Together, as one mind, body and soul, we can begin anew." The ghost reaches out to her with a long skeletal arm. Annette's sister gasps as their high priestess steps forward and kneels before the being, offering herself with a sudden rush of energy. The phantom soul is drawn inside Annette. This is probably very similar, right? She collapses to the ground, reeling from the spiritual impact. Her body writhes in torment, but none of the other witches step forward to help, instead watching with equal parts terror and fascination. Finally, Annette rises to her feet. Her eyes aglow with mystical power. Then she speaks. It is not her voice. "Sisters, rejoice, for I am reborn," Keziah says. And then Carl Sanford taps you with his cane. Annette so turns his attention. So I think this is all pretty much the same, but the final bit, Annette Keziah turns her attention to you and her eyes brighten. "You look familiar, child. Come, don't be afraid. You have nothing to fear from me," she grins wickedly. Her voice is like knives driving into it. "But perhaps there is a chance you have been waiting for. Step forward and accept Keziah's offering. Skip to Resolution 9. You may choose an option. If an investigator has the black book in their deck," and Erin joined the investigators. So this is a new resolution that you can only get with Erin. "Flee with Sanford and the Lodge." I think that's Resolution 10, which is similar to the others where you run away, right? So
yeah, the original version of this, it ended with Annette is possessed by evil, and then you just went straight to Resolution 8, which was basically the ending where you then check the missing persons log and everything. So this is sort of adding a few extra branches before we get to that final section.
Yeah. And so if you agree to accept her offering, which I don't think that was in the original, was it? Are you accepting her offering?
No, that's new.
Yeah, do you want to read that one?
Yeah, so this is Resolution 9. You step forward and meet Keziah's gaze. This is what you've prepared for. All your research, all the mysteries you have uncovered, it has led you here. To power, to immortality. Keziah nods knowingly. A sinister smirk frolics on her lips. Come, sisters, now is the time to reap the reward for your loyalty. Outmatched, Carl Sanford and the lodge members flee into the woods, leaving you and the coven alone. One by one, you and your new allies each sign the Black Book of Azathoth. Keziah grants you each a shred of her knowledge, of her power, and she tells you what your loyalty has bought. She speaks of the great old ones, of immortality, of the messenger and their demonic wisdom. From henceforth, you are forever changed. In your campaign log, record the Coven of Keziah holds the world in its grasp. The Coven wins the campaign. Investigators who are truly loyal to the Coven win the campaign.
There you go. Done. Just like that.
That's quite, because that's like it wasn't this the scenario where there was the version where if the Silver Twilight Lodge win, you the Twilight Lodge wins the campaign. So
correct.
It's nice. It's added like a mirror to it, hasn't it?
That's great. Yeah, so they balanced it between the witches and the Twilight Lodge much better there. Yeah, fantastic. Great. Okay.
Yeah, but if you don't do that, then it's Resolution 10. You flee with Sanford in the lodge. So do you want to take that?
Yeah. So you hate to admit it, but Sanford is right. You cannot play a part in this folly. But the moment such thoughts cross your mind, Keziah's expression turns to ice. So be it. She stretches out her hand. In terror, you flee with the rest of the lodge, hoping you are fast enough to escape the witch's magic. Your escape is a blur. Witches and spirits chase you relentlessly through the forsaken woods. You're only barely able to make it back to the shore before they catch up with you. Other members of the lodge are perhaps not so fortunate. Having scattered in many directions, you are not sure how many of them have escaped, and you don't see Carl Sanford anywhere. Still, you suspect he had a plan for this outcome. In your campaign log, record Annette Mason is possessed by evil, and then go to Resolution 8.
Which is the same original outcome. So just added some bit of extra narrative and that option of siding with the Coven and winning the campaign, isn't it?
Right, so return to the clutches of chaos. Yeah, apart from they've just got some new locations basically, haven't they? For clutches of chaos.
Yeah.
There's Merchant District, South Church, Uptown, South Side, Rivertown, and French Hill all have a new version to add to the...
Yeah, there's basically a third version of each of them, isn't there? And
correct.
you only put two of them in.
Correct, exactly.
To choose from randomly, I think, or something like
That's
that.
exactly right, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just adding some extra...
So there's probably not much to go through on that one then, is there?
No, because there's no flavour text on them, and they're just more of the same, really, just another sort of version of them.
Shall we just skip through to the...
Twist of Fate?
Yeah.
Yes.
So this is where basically it was like things that we're going through the things that have happened so far and how they might affect the final scenario, aren't they?
Yes, correct.
So in the original, it was things like if we asked Annette for assistance, then we get a certain number of tally marks. If we ask Sanford for assistance, if you found only 2 or fewer mementos, things like that.
Yeah.
So this is basically adding a few extra ones.
Yeah.
So do you want to...
Yeah, so if you arrest Annette, so this is this very obscure thing where if you've got a police person or something, you can arrest Annette. If investigators arrest Annette, erase 1 tally mark. What are the tally marks for? And remove 1 skull from the chaos bag. What were the tally marks?
So the tally marks get added from the other bullet points in Twist of Fate.
Oh, that's right, yes.
Like if you accepted your fate, you had a tally mark.
That's right.
You asked Annette for assistance, you get 2 tally marks, which I think you then use. You can use those tally marks in the final scenario, but this is you actually taking some off you again, which I don't think the original one did.
No. So this is and if Annette taught you the spells of old, each investigator may search the collection for a basic pact, curse, omen, or silver twilight weakness of their choice, and add it to their deck. Each investigator who does earns a 4 bonus experience that can only be spent to purchase or upgrade spell, ritual, sorcerer, or witch cards. There you go. So a bit of a boost there if you do that.
Yeah. And then if you arrested Sanford, so similarly you erase a tally mark and add a -1 to the chaos bag. And if we assumed control of the Silver Twilight Lodge, we add 2 cultist tokens to the Chaos bag, but we each begin the next scenario with 2 extra resources and 2 extra cards in our opening hand.
Oh, okay, nice. So a bit of a boost there at the end of the campaign, I suppose. Yeah. There we go.
So now we return to Before the Black Throne.
Yes. Return to Before the Black Throne. Yes. So we get a new Act 3.
New Act 3, basically, isn't there? To swap out for the old one.
Yes.
And some new Cosmos locations.
Yes. Yep, there's 3 new ones.
And then we can remove 2 resources from the scenario reference card, which are our tally marks, to have each investigator begin with a Night Gaunt Steed.
Yes.
Which I think helps us move around.
It does.
Night Gaunt Steed.
Yeah.
So while you control Night Gaunt Steed, you may enter empty space as if it were a location. So after you enter empty space, Night Gaunt Steed takes a direct damage. He's got 3 health. And then if he leaves play, remove it from the game and move to the nearest revealed location. So it's a way of sort of skipping across the empty space, but it's not unlimited.
Yep.
You can only do it 3 times and then...
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just helps.
Quite a nice little boost.
Yeah, it is.
For
just
2 of your tally marks.
Yeah, exactly. So...
And we all get that, don't we? So it's not just use 2 tally marks for one of you to get a steed.
Yeah, it's from the scenario reference card. So yeah.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. So that's a nice little, makes it a little bit easier, I suppose.
Yeah.
And then what's the story here with this new Act 3A? It looks the same on the face, doesn't it? Yeah, it's identical on the front.
Yes, it's just got a new bullet point on the back that gives an extra resolution.
Ah, yes, and there's a mistype here because it says if strange incantation and bloody tree carving are listed under mementos discovered, you may proceed to R6, but R6 doesn't. It's R5 in here. So they made a slight error there. I mean R5, not R6. So yes, there's an extra resolution. Correct.
Yeah, and that strange incantation and the bloody tree carvings, they came from the new resolutions that were added into the Witching Hour and the Wages of Sin.
Yes.
So you can only get that as part of the changes that have been made during this campaign.
Yes. They've done a good job of... It's sort of all in parallel, right? It doesn't sort of mess up the other ones. It's just this sort of new parallel kind of thing. So... Makes me wonder why they didn't.
I really like how they've done this.
Yeah. Makes me wonder why they didn't have it in the original. All I can imagine is that they must have gotten maybe feedback afterwards and then thought, oh yeah, maybe we can add something in. I'm not sure, but yeah. Anyway, so yes, we've got a new resolution.
Resolution 6. Yes, Before the Black Throne. This is it. The end of all things, and the knighted throne of the being known as Azathoth. You know there is no sense in harming it. If such a thing can even suffer harm, so you set about finding another way to prevent it from waking. You understand now that the spirits you saw in Hangman's Hill were trying to warn you, trying to drive you away from the same path Keziah led them down so many years ago. Annette's incantation served as this creature's alarm, and so you shall transform it into a lullaby. It takes ages for you to find within these timeless halls the spirit that knows how to reverse the incantation, and it takes even longer to drag the words from its hollow throat. But together you speak aloud the rite that ends Keziah's work once and for all. Azathoth slumbers once more, though you know it will not last forever. With your task complete, you turn and face the darkness, summoning your steed. It is time to go home. So in your campaign log, record that Azathoth slumbers for now. We each get victory X from the victory display and 5 bonus XP because we've saved the universe from being devoured. That seems a bit stingy. 5 XP for saving the entire universe.
Well, it's, just
But,
knowing is thanks enough, isn't it, Kevling? You can pretty much sit back after this. I say, be on your, LinkedIn page, save the universe.
But we get a physical and mental trauma
right.
as it takes its toll. We win the campaign.
Yay! Well, that's a nice resolution, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
I think that's more positive than the positive resolutions in the original campaign guide, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And then there's the epilogue, but obviously there's no change to the epilogue.
Yeah. You can still be hunted and all that.
Yes. There we go.
So there we go.
So what do you reckon?
Yeah, good. I think they really worked hard at this one. It feels like they've really done a lot with this return to. They've not only, given you the tarot cards and things, which are lovely in and of themselves, but tweak things here and there in the usual way, adding the odd locations and extra locations to kind of just change things up. But they've added a whole thread, which I think, as you said, balances the story in a much more satisfying and better way than in the original campaign, I think.
Yeah, I think I kind of lost track how many times we had a grumble or a moan while we were doing this this podcast about how there was no incentive to side with the witches. No. It was all, well, you either side with the lodge or suppose you side with the witches because you're not siding with the lodge. But yeah, this actually adds that sort of incentive. Erin reached out to you, arranged to meet you. You learned what was really going on from your discussions with her, and it opened up that new route through the campaign.
Yes,
to a hopefully successful resolution.
Yes, yep, yeah. So
really good.
Yeah, no, really, really good. I think it. It's still, the first half is probably still narratively a bit strange how it jumps around a bit, but it certainly, I think, fixes a few of those things and makes it.
Yeah. There's none of that. Why are we going to the graveyard? Because we read about a ghost. Yes, it's no. One of the witches wants to meet us there and explain what's going on.
Yeah, exactly.
Makes much more sense.
It does, and which makes me wonder. Yes, what it could have been if they'd sort of, had that, balance there, and in the original. I think it's quite a complicated, involved campaign, so it probably was one of those things that it was only in hindsight that they were able to do that. But it's good. So I'm pretty happy with the changes. I think they're a lot of the scenarios, it's not much of a change, but definitely the ones with the witches are significantly changed. So, it's good.
Definitely the highlights there.
Yeah, definitely. I think a worthwhile investment overall. I think really nice.
Not that you can buy it anymore.
Yes,
join us on Flavour Text as we talk about these lovely things you can't buy.
That's right. Yes, I guess we were lucky enough to be there at the time, hey, Kevling, and get the copies while they were there. And who knows, they may get reprinted in the future, and they're possibly so. Yes, brilliant. Okay, there we go. Yeah. So
what are we doing next?
Well, yes, we will be doing our final wrap-up scenario coming up in the next sometime in April. I don't know exactly when, because we will have a special guests, I'm hoping, for that particular episode, where we get to talk all things Circle Undone in terms of the overall campaign. We'll also post on our Reddit and Facebook and get people's thoughts about the campaign and read those out as well, and see what other
so
people
if
think.
any of you listeners have got any feedback or thoughts on how you found the Circle Undone and how the gameplay meets the narrative and etc., please write in to ftextpodcast@gmail.com, is it?
That's
Can't
right.
remember.
That's the one. Yep.
Listen to the bit at the end that I recorded. That's 2 years ago.
That sounds right. Yeah. So it would be awesome to hear from you, listeners, in terms of your thoughts about this campaign. And once we've secured the special guests, we'll let everybody know about that as well, I guess.
Definitely.
Very much looking forward to that. Always like the chat at the end and how it all sort of pans out and things. But until then, I'm CrabbyTerror8.
And I'm Kevling.
See you later. Bye.
Bye. So once more, thank you for listening. We're on all the major podcast platforms, so please subscribe on your podcast platform of choice. If you have any feedback for us, you can email us on ftextpodcast@gmail.com or message us on Instagram and Threads at ftextpodcast. So on behalf of CrabbyTerror8 and myself, thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye.